Hi everyone, it's Mara, and it's Wednesday, so it means it's Sharing Wellness Promoting Health Wednesday. And this month Stephen did a newsletter on recovering from PTSD, and I'm going to share a little bit of his newsletter with you and some other options you may have that may help you with it. So PTSD has long been observed in soldiers returning from war. It's a mental health problem associated with people who have witnessed or participated in terrifying events. And it's basically the ongoing effects of the trauma the person experienced before the event. So millions of Americans face PTSD. About 3.6% of adults, which is about 5.2 million people, suffer from PTSD during the course of a year. And during the course of our lifetime, about 8 million Americans will experience it at some point. You can check out my newsletter. I'll put a link in the description, and you can read the full newsletter on PTSD. But there are some therapies that I've read about and people have shared with me that may be helpful for people with PTSD. There's things you may want to look at like Bach flowers, CBD. One of the interesting ones is emotional freedom technique, otherwise known as tapping. It's a well-known form of therapy, and it's used to mainly manage many issues relating to stress and PTSD. It's basically using your fingertips to tap on certain meridian points to help you talk through your traumatic memories. Studies have been done. You can read them on PubMed, and they're linked in my article on guidelines for the treatment of PTSD using emotional freedom technique. There's also a website known as Tapping for War Veterans. So if you know somebody who has PTSD, or you have PTSD or just basic stress, and you haven't tried emotional freedom technique or tapping, you may want to check out that website, Tapping for War Veterans. There's also something known as EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. I have a girlfriend who's has her master's in counseling, and she uses this technique and shared it with me and says she has some amazing results with it. So basically the therapy is used to help people process traumatic events. You can learn more about it through the website, Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing Therapy. You can also search your local area for a counselor who may be trained in this form of therapy for you to try. There's also craniosacral therapy. I myself am a craniosacral therapist, and craniosacral therapy is amazing in helping your body release trauma as well as emotions. It's been used successfully for PTSD and overall stress or trauma, and helps our body process it. I've witnessed amazing things working on people as the body releases those emotions and memories. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with craniosacral therapy, it's a very gentle, hands-on method of evaluating and enhancing the functioning of the membranes and fluid that surround and protect our spinal cord as well as our brain. And Dr. Upledger has done work helping many individuals with PTSD. And if you haven't tried this form of therapy, you may want to check out Dr. Upledger's site for a therapist near you to maybe check it out and give it a try. There's also some evidence on how we eat and our gut health affecting our emotions, because PTSD is very stressful. And when people are under a lot of stress, it tends to interfere with proper self-care and causes one to neglect themselves. So I too have been, overwhelmed with stress and fear from chronic pain. And I definitely have been at points in my life where I wasn't paying attention to what I was eating, how much I was eating, or the value of the foods that I'm eating. And when we eat too many processed foods, too much sugar, too much coffee, and we pump our body full of energy drinks because we're so fatigued, it only puts more demand and stimulation on our bodies that are already stimulated from the chronic stress or trauma we've been under. and our nervous systems deserve better. So it's best to focus on eating regular meals that include nutrient-dense foods, your fruits, your veggies, your complex carbs, your lean proteins, your healthy fats, to help your body stay nourished during this time. They've also found that exercise and keeping moving really helps because it increases the feel-good hormones in the body. And I understand that not everybody may be able to exercise, especially people that have been injured or have chronic pain like I did. But try to do what you can, and if you can't get up and get moving, check with a physical therapist or your doctor on what forms of exercise you can do safely and what might be beneficial. Also, gut health definitely shows a link between one's ability to deal and process trauma. So that includes PTSD. So your gut loves to eat a diet high in fiber, plant-rich foods, fermented foods, fruits and veggies offer a high fiber content. So try to at least eat, lots of fruits and vegetables and 6 servings or more greens a day. And up your intake to fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, and kombucha. You may also want to consider adding a high-quality probiotic. And I've used the Chi Machine for years. I still use it. I use it every day for 15 minutes. And it really promotes balance throughout the body with its rhythmic figure 8 movement. I know when I first started using it about 15 years ago, I was really under much more stress than I am now. And for some reason, that rhythmic movement allowed my body to relax a little bit and begin the process of healing, while also promoting circulation and lymphatic movement. So I wanted to touch on these things that maybe if you haven't heard of them, you can check them out. Again, they would be emotional freedom technique or tapping. There are studies done on that for helping with PTSD. There's even a dedicated website to tapping for war veterans. There's also that EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. Many counselors and psychologists are trained in that, have seen amazing results in helping people process trauma. So check out the EMDR website for maybe a counselor and psychologist near you. Dr. Upledger has done a lot of work with craniosacral therapy again, which focuses on the brain and the cerebral spinal fluid flow in the body processing trauma. So you can check Dr. Upledger's website for help with that. And again, you want to focus on eating healthier to promote a healthy gut and promote a healthy you and to nourish the nervous system that we're so overworking. And try to get up and get moving, which is another reason why I like the Chi Machine. So these are just a little tidbits on PTSD that some of you may have heard of, some of you may not have heard of, that maybe be helpful, and that's kind of the purpose of this video. I will put a link into the newsletter. So thanks for watching. Have a great week, and I'll be back with you next week. I'll be starting a 3 or 4 week. I'll be finishing up September on chronic pain, because this is Pain Awareness Month, so I'm going to talk about what chronic pain is, how it affects people, how it affects our body and mind. Then I'm going to go into some natural treatments like recommended diets and exercise and that kind of thing, and then some herbs, and then finally my experience with the products and my own kind of journey with the chronic pain. So thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you next week and beginning our pain awareness videos.